It is often said that power flows from the barrel of the gun, and this statement holds true more in the context of geopolitics. So what does a person do when he is propelled from the top rank of an intelligence agency to lead the country? He uses all his experience to make his enemy fearful of him, and in turn make his country so strong that nobody dares mess with them. He makes it a point and his purpose to prove that the power indeed flows from the barrel of the gun. Perhaps that is one reason the Russia-Ukraine war is at the verge of completing its first anniversary, but the entire world has done absolutely nothing at all. They have just been bluffing and blustering, and in all these permutations and combinations, one man is still standing tall, unflinching and unfazed: the Russian President Vladimir Putin. He has been unrelenting so far in the largest full-scale armed conflict the modern world has seen since the World War II. In this video, we bring to you the rise of one of the most powerful men in the entire planet and decode what exactly makes him so feared to his rivals. Putin was born to a working-class family in Leningrad in 1952. His father was a decorated war veteran and a factory worker. An only child, Putin grew up in a Soviet Union-style communal apartment with two other families. Growing up, Putin loved spy novels and TV shows. It is said that when he was still in school, he went to the KGB and asked how he could join. The people at KGB headquarters apparently told him to work hard and study law. So Putin did exactly that. By the 1970s, Putin had studied law and joined KGB, the Russian Secret Service. He served 15 years as a foreign intelligence officer for the KGB before the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. Then he officially resigned from the KGB's active reserve. He was back in Leningrad, which was later renamed St. Petersburg, and worked for the city's first democratic mayor and his former law professor Anatoly Sobchak. He worked mostly behind the scenes and kept a very low profile. He reportedly was the man to see if things needed to get done and was referred as Sobchak's indispensable man. Putin was extremely loyal to Sobchak. When Sobchak was not re-elected as mayor, his opponents offered Putin a job. But Putin turned it down, saying it is better to be hanged for loyalty than be rewarded for betrayal. In 1996, Putin and his family relocated to Moscow. There, he quickly climbed up the ladder and became the head of the FSB, the agency that succeeded the KGB. And then came the year 1999. 1999 was a year of a drastic rise in Putin's career. During the initial months, he was appointed the head of FSB. In August, he was made deputy prime minister. On 31st of December the same year, the then president Boris Yeltsin announced his resignation and chose Vladimir Putin as acting president. He decided to return the favor of Yeltsin back, and one of his first moves was to pardon Yeltsin, giving him immunity from criminal or administrative investigations, including protection of his papers, residence and other possessions from search and seizure. During this time, the conflict with Chechnya was going on. He soon became Russia's most popular politician because of his tough-minded conduct of the war in Chechnya. In the same year, he ordered the complete destruction of the Chechen capital of Grozny. Although many believed that Boris Yeltsin had propelled Putin to the presidency to protect himself, the war in Chechnya had started to go south before Putin's actions, and Yeltsin's approval ratings had started to drop. Putin inherited Russia during a particularly complicated time. The country was in the midst of a conflict with Chechnya, a region that is officially considered a Russian subject. Additionally, Yeltsin-era oligarchs were increasingly interested in expanding their political influence. Putin recognized that the Yeltsin-era oligarchs had the potential to be more powerful than him, so he struck a deal with them. In 2002, a Moscow theater was seized by 40 Chechen militants who were led by the warlord Movsar Barayev. During the 3-day ordeal, 129 of the 912 hostages died. That was a critical moment for Putin, and many expected his domestic support base to plummet. But his ruthless handling of the siege and his refusal to negotiate with the hostage takers further shored up his reputation as a man of action. He came to be widely regarded as someone who could walk his talk. In fact, his first 2 terms as president were marred by multiple hostage crises and attacks by domestic militants. During this time, Putin began unraveling election procedures and breaking apart Russian financial institutions and media outlets. A landmark moment came with a speech he gave at the Munich Security Conference in 2007. That speech was a direct challenge to the West and an expression of cold fury. He accused the US of an almost uncontained hyper-use of force, military force in international relations, force that is plunging the world into an abyss of permanent conflicts. The Putin of 2000, who had expressed pride at Russia's transformation into a modern democracy, had by now given way to a man who denounced Western talk of freedom and democracy as a hypocritical front for power politics. The Munich speech was not just an angry reflection on the past, it also pointed the way to the future. The Russian president had put the West on notice that he intended to fight back against the US-led world order. It foreshadowed a lot of what was to come. Russia's military intervention in Georgia in 2008, its annexation of Crimea in 2014, its dispatch of troops to Syria in 2015, its meddling in the US presidential election of 2016. All of these actions burnished Putin's reputation as a nationalist and a strong leader. They also made him an icon for strong men throughout the world who rejected Western leadership and the liberal international order. For Russians, Putin is the man who will make Russia great once again, and for the West, he is an aggressor who has been unnecessarily needling West. But for Putin himself, he does not care at all what anyone says. He believes that the old global order needs to be overturned, and his aspirations to make Russia great again is not dwindling. The Russia-Ukraine war is proving this.